She saw her toxic ex storming through the airport, seconds away from catching her. Desperate, she grabbed a stranger in an expensive suit and kissed him, whispering, "Please help me." What she didn't know, the man she kissed was a mafia boss. And he'd just decided she belonged under his protection forever. The fluorescent lights of Chicago O'Hare Airport buzzed overhead as Elena Martinez clutched her boarding pass like a lifeline. Her hands trembled. Gate C-47. Just 200 feet away. 200 feet between her and freedom. She'd sold everything. Her grandmother's ring, her laptop, even her winter coat, to afford this one-way ticket to Portland. A fresh start. A new life. Away from him. Then she saw him.
Damien.
Her blood turned to ice. He was moving through the crowd like a shark through water, his eyes scanning, searching, looking for her. Elena's breath caught in her throat. How did he find her? She'd been so careful. Changed her number. Stayed off social media. Told no one except her coworker Maria, and Maria wouldn't. Their eyes met across the terminal. His face twisted into something between rage and triumph. He started running. Elena! His voice cut through the noise of rolling suitcases and gate announcements. People turned to look. Elena, don't you dare. Panic flooded her system. Security was 50 feet behind him, but they weren't moving. They didn't know. Didn't understand. Last time she'd called the police on Damien, he talked his way out of it. Charmed them. Made her look crazy. She couldn't get on that plane if he followed her to the gate. He'd make a scene. Get her kicked off. Or worse, he'd find out where she was going. Elena's eyes darted frantically around the terminal. Families. Business travelers. A woman with 3 screaming toddlers. An elderly couple. And then, him. A man stood near the VIP lounge entrance, checking his watch. Tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair and sharp features that looked like they'd been carved from marble. His suit probably cost more than she made in 3 months, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, with a black shirt underneath.
No tie.
Even from 30 feet away, he radiated the kind of confidence that came from never having to explain yourself to anyone. He looked up. Their eyes locked for a split second. Elena made a choice. She ran straight toward him, her heart hammering against her ribs. She had maybe 10 seconds before Damien caught up. The stranger's dark eyes widened slightly as she approached, but he didn't move, didn't step back. "I'm so sorry," Elena gasped, reaching him. Then she grabbed the lapels of his expensive suit and pulled him down to her. She kissed him. For a moment, time stopped. The stranger's lips were warm against hers, and she felt him go completely still. She pressed closer, praying he'd understand, praying he wouldn't push her away. "Please help me," she whispered against his mouth, her voice breaking. "Please. My ex. He won't let me leave." The stranger's body language changed instantly. His arm came around her waist, firm, protective, and suddenly she wasn't just holding on to him. He was holding her back. When he pulled back slightly to look at her face, his eyes were sharp and assessing. But not cold. There was something else there. Something unexpected. "Elena." Damien's voice was right behind her now. "What the hell do you think you're?" The stranger turned, keeping Elena tucked against his side. She felt the tension in his body, coiled and ready. "There a problem?" His voice was low, controlled, and somehow more threatening than if he'd shouted. Damien stopped short. Up close, Elena could see the rage in his eyes, the vein pulsing in his temple. The same look he'd had before he'd grabbed her arm hard enough to bruise. Before he'd thrown her phone across the room. Before she'd finally found the courage to run. "That's my girlfriend," Damien said, pointing at Elena.
She's confused.
"She needs to come with me." "I'm not your girlfriend," Elena said, her voice stronger than she felt. "I broke up with you 3 months ago." "Elena, baby, don't do this here. The lady seems pretty clear to me." The stranger's grip on her waist tightened fractionally. "A silent message. I've got you." Damien's face reddened. "Who the hell are you?" You don't know what you're getting into. Two airport security guards appeared, drawn by their raised voices and the small crowd forming around them. Everything all right here? The older guard looked between the three of them, his hand resting on his radio. This man is harassing my girlfriend, the stranger said smoothly before Damien could speak. His voice carried authority that made both guards straighten automatically. She has a restraining order against him. Elena didn't. She'd tried, but Damien's lawyer had gotten it dismissed. But the lie bought them time. Sir, is this true? The younger guard stepped toward Damien. Do you know this woman? Yes, but she's lying. Sir, I'm going to need you to step back. You don't understand. Step back now, or we'll call Chicago PD. Elena watched, barely breathing, as the guards moved Damien away from them. He was shouting, protesting, but the crowd around them was growing. People were filming on their phones. The guards weren't taking chances with someone accused of violating a restraining order in front of dozens of witnesses. This isn't over, Elena, Damien shouted as they escorted him toward the main security desk. You can't just... Then they turned a corner, and he was gone. Elena's knees nearly buckled. The stranger's arm around her was the only thing keeping her upright. Hey, his voice was softer now. You're okay. Breathe. She realized she wasn't breathing. She dragged in a shaky breath, then another. I'm sorry, she whispered, looking up at him. This close, she could see his eyes were a deep brown, almost black. There was a small scar above his left eyebrow. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. He would have followed me to Portland and I needed. Don't apologize, he studied her face with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. You're safe now. Thank you, her voice cracked. Thank you so much. I should go. My flight. Gate C-47, he said, glancing at the boarding pass. She was still clutching. Better hurry. They're boarding in 10 minutes. She nodded, stepping back from him reluctantly. He let her go, but his eyes never left her face. I'm sorry about the kiss, she said again, backing toward the gate. And the lie about the restraining order. And, go, he said, and there was something that might have been a smile at the corner of his mouth. Before you miss your flight. Elena turned and ran. She didn't look back. Didn't see him watching her until she disappeared into the boarding crowd. Didn't see him pull out his phone and make a single call. Marco, Luca DeSantis said quietly, his eyes still on the gate where she'd vanished. I need you to find someone for me. The VIP lounge was empty except for 3 men in dark suits standing at attention near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the tarmac. They'd watched the entire scene unfold in the terminal through the glass walls, and now they watched their boss with barely concealed shock. Luca DeSantis walked past them without a word, his expression unreadable. He moved through the sliding doors onto the private tarmac where a sleek black jet waited, its engines already humming. Boss, Marco, his head of security, followed close behind. Do you want us to handle the situation? The woman, She what, Marco? Luca's voice was calm as he climbed the jet stairs. She asked for help. She kissed you. Nico, the younger guard, blurted out. Then immediately looked like he regretted speaking. Marco shot him a warning glare, but Luca just kept walking into the jet's luxury interior. Cream leather seats, mahogany tables, a full bar, the kind of privacy that cost millions and bought silence. Luca settled into his seat, loosening his collar. The place where her hands had gripped his lapels still felt warm. He could still smell her perfume, something floral and cheap, probably drugstore brand. She'd been shaking, terrified, and she'd chosen him out of an entire terminal full of people. Interesting. Pull the airport security footage, Luca said, accepting a glass of whiskey from his attendant. Terminal C. The last 20 minutes. Already on it, boss Marco was typing rapidly on his tablet. Should be coming through now. The jet began to taxi as Marco pulled up the footage on the main screen. Luca watched himself standing by the VIP lounge, checking his watch. Then her, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a gray sweater that had seen better days. She'd been carrying a single duffel bag. Everything she owned, probably. He watched her run toward him. Watched the fear in her eyes transform into desperate determination. Watched himself get kissed by a complete stranger. Marco and Nico exchanged glances. "Rewind it," Luca said. "Show me the X." Marco scrolled back. There, a man in his 30s, brown hair, athletic build. Expensive watch. Designer jacket. The kind of guy who looked good on paper, but had something mean in his eyes. He was shouting, aggressive, getting in people's faces. "Zoom in on his face," Luca ordered. The image sharpened. Marco was already running facial recognition software. "Got him," Marco said after a moment. Damian Cross, 34. Works in commercial real estate. Lives in Lincoln Park. No arrests, but he paused, scrolling. 3 prior girlfriends filed restraining orders. All were dropped. Looks like his father's a judge in Cook County. "Of course he is," Luca said quietly. "You want me to send someone?" Nico asked eagerly. "Teach him some manners?" No, Luca's eyes stayed on the screen, watching the loop of Elena running, kissing him, whispering for help. "Not yet. First, I want to know everything about her." "Her?" Marco looked surprised. "The woman." Elena. Luca took a sip of whiskey. She said he wouldn't let her leave. "Find out why. Find out where she's going. Find out everything." Marco and Nico exchanged another look. In the 5 years they'd worked for Luca DeSantis, they'd never seen him show interest in a woman like this. Luca's personal life was locked down tight. No relationships. No complications. No vulnerabilities. And certainly no random women kissing him in airports. "Boss," Marco said carefully. "She's probably just someone who chose me out of hundreds of people," Luca interrupted. His voice was soft, but both men heard the edge beneath it. "She looked at me and decided I was safe. That I'd help her. I want to know why." "Could be coincidence," Nico offered. "You were just standing there." "I don't believe in coincidence," Luca set down his glass. "How long until you can get me her full background?" Marco is already making calls. "Give me 4 hours. I'll have everything, address, employment, financials, the works." "Make it 2. "Boss, with respect, we just left Chicago." "Then call Danny. Call whoever you need to call." Luca's tone left no room for argument. "I want to know who Elena Martinez is and why Damian Cross thinks he owns her. And I want to know before she lands in Portland." "Portland," Marco repeated, making notes. "Got it." The jet leveled out at cruising altitude. Through the window, Chicago's skyline was shrinking behind them. Somewhere down there, she was boarding a plane, running from a man who'd probably been controlling her for months, maybe years. The kind of man who had connections, who knew how to work the system, who'd gotten restraining orders dismissed because Daddy was a judge. Luca had built his empire by reading people, by understanding leverage and weakness and power. He'd survived in a world where one wrong move meant death by learning to see the angles everyone else missed. That woman, Elena, she hadn't seen a well-dressed stranger standing alone. She'd seen protection, authority, someone dangerous enough to make Damian Cross back down. She'd been right. "Boss," Marco interrupted his thoughts. "I gotta ask, why the interest? I mean, she kissed you without permission. Most people who touch you without asking end up. Most people who touch me without asking are trying to kill me," Luca said. "She was trying to save herself. There's a difference. But she's nobody. No connections, no family in the life, nothing we can use. She's someone who needed help and had 30 seconds to find it." Luca turned from the window to look at his men. "And when you need help that desperately, Marco, you don't pick randomly. You pick the most dangerous person in the room. Some part of her knew exactly what I was." Nico frowned. "What you are?" "Someone who could make her problem disappear." Luca's smile was slight, cold. "And I don't like leaving debts unpaid. She asked for help. I'm going to make sure she gets it. Even if she doesn't know she's getting it?" Marco asked. "Especially then." Marco sighed and returned his tablet. I'll have everything within 2 hours. Good. Lucas settled back in his seat, his mind already working through possibilities. And Marco? Start with the X. I want to know every debt, every connection, every skeleton in Damien Cross's closet. If he's going to be a problem, I want to know before he becomes 1 inch. Understood, boss. As the jet carried him east toward New York, Luca DeSantis found himself replaying that moment over and over. The desperate courage in her eyes. The way she'd whispered please. The way she'd trusted a complete stranger with her safety. No one had surprised him in years. Elena Martinez had just changed that. Night, day 2. Luca's penthouse office in Manhattan overlooked Central Park, 30 floors of glass and steel between him and the rest of the world. It was nearly midnight when Marco walked in carrying a thick folder and a tablet. You're not going to like this, Marco said, dropping the folder on Luca's desk. Luca looked up from the contract he'd been reviewing. Show me. Marco opened the tablet, pulling up a photo. Elena Martinez, smiling in what looked like a college ID photo. Younger. Hopeful. Before life had beaten that hope out of her eyes. Elena Cristina Martinez. 28 years old. Born in Portland, moved to Chicago for college 6 years ago. Dropped out in her junior year when her mother got sick. Cancer. She died 14 months later. Luca's expression didn't change, but something tightened in his chest. After her mom died, Elena worked 3 jobs to pay off the medical bills. Met Damien Cross 2 years ago at a charity event where she was waitressing. He swept her off her feet, expensive dinners, gifts, the whole thing. She moved in with him after 3 months. And then, Luca already knew the answer. Then it got bad. Marco scrolled through police reports. First call was 18 months ago. She reported him for shoving her during an argument. He claimed she tripped. No charges. Second call, 10 months ago. He broke her phone and locked her out of the apartment overnight. He said it was a misunderstanding. She didn't press charges. Why not? His father, Judge Richard Cross, advised her that pursuing charges would be difficult given the lack of evidence. Suggested couples counseling instead. Marco's disgust was evident. She tried to get a restraining order 5 months ago.
Denied.
Judge Cross recused himself, but the replacement judge was his golf buddy. Luca's fingers drummed once on the desk. A sure sign he was angry. She finally left him 3 months ago, Marco continued. Moved into a studio apartment in a rough neighborhood. Started working 2 jobs, day shift at a diner in the Loop, night shift at a bar in Wicker Park. She's been saving every penny for that plane ticket to Portland. What's waiting for her in Portland? An aunt. Her mom's sister. She owns a small bookstore. Elena used to work there summers as a kid. Marco pulled up more documents. But here's where it gets ugly. Damien's been making her life hell. He reported her car as stolen. It was in her name, but he convinced the cops she'd taken it without permission during a domestic dispute. It got impounded. She couldn't afford to get it back. What else? He filed a civil suit claiming she stole jewelry and electronics from his apartment. Completely fabricated, but it's tied her up in court. Legal fees she can't afford. Her landlord received an anonymous complaint about her subletting illegally, which she wasn't, but it was enough to start eviction proceedings. And Marco hesitated. Her bank account got frozen 2 weeks ago. Someone reported suspected fraud. She's been living on cash tips since then. Luca stood, walking to the window. The city glittered below him, millions of people living their small lives. Elena was somewhere out there in Portland right now, probably lying awake in her aunt's spare room, wondering if she was finally safe. She wasn't. Not yet. Damien's not going to let this go, Luca said quietly. No, Marco agreed. My sources say he's already making calls, trying to find out where she went. How much does she owe? Legal fees, court costs, everything. Marco checked his notes. Roughly $37,000. The medical bills from her mother wiped out her savings. The legal stuff buried her. She's basically broke. Luca was silent for a long moment. Then, pay it. All of it. Marco blinked. Boss. The legal fees. The court costs. The impound fees for her car. Have it delivered to Portland, her aunt's address. The eviction proceedings. Find out who her landlord is and make it go away. Her bank account. Unfreeze it. Tonight.
That's...
Boss, she's going to notice. Make it anonymous. Legal aid fund. Settlement from the bank for wrongful freezing. I don't care. Make it look legitimate, Luca turned from the window. And make sure Damien Cross's lawsuit gets thrown out. Find a judge who owes us a favor. We've got 3 in Chicago, Marco said slowly, still processing. But boss, 37 grand, plus the car, plus, you're talking about nearly $50,000 for a woman you met for 30 seconds. She asked for help. She asked you to pretend to be her boyfriend for 2 minutes. And I'm making sure she doesn't need to ask anyone for help again. Luca's voice was firm. Damien Cross has been using money and connections to terrorize her for months. Someone needs to even the scales. Marco studied his boss. In 5 years, he'd seen Luca donate millions to charity, always anonymously, always strategic. But this was different. This was personal. You want me to set up surveillance in Portland? 24/7. Rotating teams. I want eyes on her at all times, but keep it invisible. She can't know. Luca returned to his desk. And put someone on Damien. If he makes a move toward Portland, I want to know about it before he books the flight. What if he does go after her? Then we discourage him. Luca's smile was cold. Permanently, if necessary. Marco nodded, making notes. This is going to raise questions. The men are going to wonder why you're protecting some random waitress. Tell them she helped me avoid an uncomfortable situation at the airport. Tell them I'm returning a favor. Tell them whatever keeps them from asking questions I don't want to answer. And what's the real reason? Marco asked carefully. Luca was quiet for a moment, thinking about frightened eyes and desperate courage. About a woman who'd had everything taken from her, but still found the strength to run. About someone who'd looked at him and seen safety, not danger. She reminded me that there are still people in this world worth protecting, Luca said finally. Now get it done. Marco left, already making calls. Luca pulled up the airport footage one more time, watching Elena disappear into the boarding crowd. She thought she'd escaped, thought she was finally free. She had no idea she'd just become the most protected person in 3 states. Or that the man she'd kissed had decided she was never going to be afraid of Damien Cross again. Even if she never knew who was protecting her. Day 2, Portland, Oregon. Elena woke to the smell of coffee and old books. Her Aunt Rosie's apartment above the bookstore always smelled like this. Paper, vanilla candles, and the lavender soap Rosie had used for as long as Elena could remember. For the first time in 3 months, she'd slept through the night. No jumping at every sound. No nightmares about Damien breaking down her door. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Elena reached for it reluctantly, half expecting more threatening messages. Damien had been calling and texting nonstop since she blocked him, using different numbers. But when she checked the screen, it wasn't Damien. It was an email from her landlord's office in Chicago. Subject: Eviction proceedings canceled. Her heart stopped. Dear Ms. Martinez, we are writing to inform you that the eviction proceedings have been dismissed due to an administrative error in the complaint filing. Additionally, your lease has been purchased by the building's new ownership. Your security deposit and final month's rent have been refunded to your account. We apologize for any inconvenience. Elena read it 3 times. Then a 4th. It didn't make sense. Yesterday, she'd been a week away from having an eviction on her record.
Now.
Nothing. She opened her banking app with shaking hands. Account status: active. The freeze was gone. And there, a deposit. $2,400. Her security deposit and rent, just like the email said. What the hell? She whispered. Another email notification popped up. This one from Cook County Court. Subject: Case #2024, CV 3891 dismissed. The civil case filed by Damian Cross versus Elena Martinez has been dismissed with prejudice due to lack of evidence and prosecutorial merit. All associated fees have been waived. This matter is permanently closed. Elena's hands started shaking. She stumbled out of bed, nearly tripping over her duffel bag, and ran to the kitchen where Aunt Rosie was making pancakes. Rosie. Rosie, something weird is happening. Her aunt turned, spatula in hand. Rosie was 63, with steel gray hair and the kind of steady presence that had gotten Elena through her mother's funeral. What's wrong, honey? Nothing's wrong. That's the problem. Elena thrust her phone forward. Look. The eviction, it's gone. Damian's lawsuit dismissed. My bank account unfrozen. I just got back all my rent money. Rosie took the phone, her reading glasses sliding down her nose as she scanned the emails. Her eyebrows rose. Well, that's unexpected. It's impossible. Elena started pacing. Yesterday, I was broke and homeless. Today, everything just fixed itself. Maybe your luck's finally turning around. Luck doesn't work like this. Legal cases don't just disappear. Banks don't unfreeze accounts overnight. Elena ran her hands through her hair. Something's not right. Or maybe. Rosie said gently, handing back the phone. The universe decided you've suffered enough. Elena wanted to believe that. She really did. But 6 years in Chicago had taught her that good things didn't just happen. Not to people like her. Her phone buzzed again. Another email, this one from an impound lot. Your vehicle has been released. All fees waived due to improper seizure. Your car will be delivered to your current address within 3 to 5 business days. My car, Elena breathed. They're bringing me my car. Rosie smiled. See? Miracles do happen. 3 blocks away, surveillance van. Tony and Carlos had been watching the bookstore since Elena arrived yesterday. They'd seen her aunt greet her with tears and tight hugs. Seen her carry a single duffel bag upstairs. Seen the lights stay on in her window until 3 a.m. The boss had been right to send them. The girl was a wreck, jumpy, exhausted, looking over her shoulder every 5 minutes. She's reading something on her phone, Tony reported into his earpiece. Looks shocked. The money came through. Marco's voice crackled back from New York. Bank account unfrozen, lawsuit dismissed, eviction canceled. She should be getting the notifications now. Yeah, she's definitely getting them. Carlos adjusted the telephoto lens. Thinks she'll figure it out. Figure what out? There's nothing to trace. Every payment looks legitimate. Tony took a sip of cold coffee. Boss really went all out for this one. You questioning him? Hell no. Just interesting, that's all. 5 years I've worked for Luca DeSantis. Never seen him do anything like this. Then don't ask questions, Marco said flatly. Just keep her safe. Damian Cross has been making calls. We think he's narrowed down her location to Portland. He shows up here, we handle it. Quietly. She can't know she's being protected. The line clicked off. Tony settled back in his seat, watching Elena through the camera. She was talking to her aunt now, animated, confused. Probably trying to make sense of her sudden good fortune. Lucky girl, Carlos muttered. Lucky she kissed the right guy, Tony corrected. Chicago, that afternoon. Damian Cross slammed his phone down on his desk, making his assistant jump. Another dead end. Elena's aunt owned a bookstore in Portland, Rosewood Books, but when he'd called asking for Elena, the old woman had claimed she hadn't heard from her niece in months. Lying bitch. He pulled up the private investigator's report. The PI had confirmed Elena boarded a flight to Portland 2 days ago. She was there. She had to be. His phone rang. His father. Damian, what the hell did you do? Judge Cross's voice was sharp. I just got a call. That lawsuit against Elena Martinez? It's been dismissed. With prejudice. What? That's impossible. You said. I don't care what I said. Some fancy lawyer from New York filed a motion, and Judge Patterson threw it out within an hour. Said it was frivolous and warned me about wasting the court's time. Damian's jaw clenched. Dad, I need you to. I'm not doing anything else. This girl has cost me too many favors already. Let her go, Damien. Find someone else. She's mine.
She's gone.
Move on. The line went dead. Damien stared at his phone, rage building in his chest. Elena thought she could just run? Thought she could humiliate him at the airport and disappear. He'd driven past her apartment this morning. Some moving company was already clearing it out. Her landlord said the building had been sold. The new owners terminated her lease, gave her money back. It was too convenient, too clean. Someone was helping her. He opened his laptop, searching for flights to Portland. If the courts wouldn't help him, he'd handle this himself. Elena needed to learn that she didn't get to leave him. Nobody left Damien Cross. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stay away from Portland. This is your only warning. Damien stared at the text, his blood running cold, then hot with anger. We'll see about that, he muttered, hitting purchase on the Portland flight. New York. He bought a ticket. Marco told Luca. Leaves for Portland tomorrow morning. Luca was silent for a moment, watching the city lights. Then we'll be ready for him. How hard do you want us to go? As hard as necessary. Luca's voice was ice. Elena Martinez is going to have a peaceful life in Portland. Damien Cross is going to learn what happens when you ignore a warning. Understood, boss. Luca ended the call, his mind already 3 moves ahead. Some people never learn the easy way. Damien Cross was about to get a very hard lesson. Day 3, Portland. Elena was restocking shelves in the back corner of Rosewood Books when she felt it, that crawling sensation between her shoulder blades. The one that said someone was watching. She turned quickly, scanning the store. A couple browsed the romance section. An older man read near the window. A woman in a business suit checked her phone by the register.
No, Damien.
She exhaled slowly. You're being paranoid. He doesn't know where you are. Except the strange miracles kept happening. This morning, she'd received a call from a legal aid organization she'd never contacted, saying they'd reviewed her case and wanted to help with any remaining fees. There weren't any remaining fees. Everything had mysteriously vanished, but the timing felt wrong.
Too convenient.
Too perfect. Elena? Rosie called from the front. Can you help this customer? Elena headed to the register, plastering on a smile. The business suit woman wanted recommendations for her book club.
Easy.
Normal. This was her life now. Quiet days, no drama, no looking over her shoulder. Then the bell above the door chimed. Damien walked in. Elena's heart stopped. He looked exactly as he always did. Expensive leather jacket, designer jeans, that smile that used to make her feel special before she learned it was a mask. His eyes swept the store and landed on her. There you are, he said, like they were old friends running into each other. I've been looking everywhere. Rosie stepped out from behind the counter. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm just here to talk to Elena. Damien's voice was calm, reasonable. The voice he used with police officers. 5 minutes. That's all I need. I don't want to talk to you. Elena forced her voice steady. Leave, Damien. Baby, come on. After everything we've been through, you just disappear without a word. He took a step closer. The other customers were watching now. I flew all the way here. The least you can do is hear me out. I said leave. Elena's hands were shaking. She gripped the counter. Or, I'm calling the police.
Call them.
Tell them your boyfriend came to talk to you. See what they do. His smile didn't reach his eyes. We both know how that ends. Before Rosie could move, the door chimed again. A man in a flannel shirt walked in, 30-something, built like he worked construction, with a Portland Timbers cap pulled low. Hey, Rosie, he said easily. Got those books I ordered. Elena had never seen him before in her life. Oh, yes. Let me just. Rosie caught on quick, moving toward the back room. There in the storage area, the flannel shirt man positioned himself between Elena and Damien, browsing a shelf. Casual. Coincidental. Except Elena saw his eyes tracking Damien's every move. Look, Damien said, his smile tightening. I don't know who you think you are, but this is a private conversation. Public bookstore. The man didn't look up from the book he was pretending to read. Nothing private about it. Damien's jaw clenched. Elena recognized that expression, the one that came right before he grabbed her arm too hard, before he threw things. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. Unknown number. Walked to the back room.
Now.
Elena's breath caught. I need to help my aunt, she said quickly, backing toward the storage area. Elena, don't walk away from me. Damien started forward, but the flannel shirt man somehow ended up in his path, still browsing. Excuse me, Damien snapped. Oh, sorry man, the guy shifted, but not enough. This is a great section though. You into mystery novels? Elena slipped into the back room, her heart hammering. Rosie grabbed her shoulders. Who was that man? Elena whispered. The one who helped us. I have no idea. Rosie's face was pale. But I'm grateful he showed up. Through the crack in the door, they watched Damien finally push past the stranger and storm out of the shop. The flannel shirt man waited 30 seconds, then left too, never having bought anything. That night, outside Elena's apartment, Elena had insisted on getting her own place. A tiny studio above a coffee shop, close enough to walk to the bookstore. Rosie hadn't wanted her to be alone, but Elena needed to prove to herself that she could do this. That she could be independent. Now, walking home in the dark, she wasn't so sure. The street was quiet. Too quiet. Her footsteps echoed off the pavement. She was 2 blocks from her apartment when she heard them, heavier footsteps behind her, matching her pace. She walked faster.
So did they.
Elena's hand dove into her purse, fumbling for her keys, ready to grip them like a weapon. 1 block. Just 1 more block. Elena. Damien's voice. Right behind her. She spun around. He was there, 15 feet away, hands in his pockets. Casual. Like they'd just bumped into each other. Stop following me, she said, her voice shaking. I just want to talk. He took a step forward. You owe me that much. I don't owe you anything. 3 years together? You don't think that means something? Another step. I made a few mistakes, sure. But you don't just throw away what we had. You broke my phone. You got me evicted. You sued me. Elena backed up, but she was running out of sidewalk. The alley entrance was behind her. Dark, empty. That's not making mistakes, Damien. That's abuse. His expression shifted. The mask slipped. You want to see abuse? I can show you. Headlights flooded the street. A black SUV pulled up fast, stopping right between them. The driver's window rolled down. Another man Elena had never seen, this one in a nice suit. Ma'am, you called for a ride? His voice was professional, bored. Elena's mind raced. She hadn't called anyone. But Damien was right there, and this man was offering an escape.
Yes.
Yes, I did. Hop in. She didn't hesitate. Elena jumped into the back seat. The driver pulled away smoothly, leaving Damien standing on the sidewalk, fury radiating off him. Thank you, Elena breathed. I didn't actually call for a ride, but rideshare app shows you did, ma'am. He held up a phone with her name and address. Taking you home safe. But Elena had deleted all her rideshare apps to save money. Hadn't used one in weeks. The driver dropped her at her apartment, refused payment, and drove off before she could ask questions. Inside her studio, Elena locked the door, pushed her bookshelf against it for good measure, and sat on her bed, shaking. Someone was helping her. The man at the bookstore. The rideshare driver. The emails and the money and the legal cases disappearing. Someone was watching. But who? And why? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. You're safe. He won't bother you again. Elena stared at the message, her heart pounding. She typed back. Who is this? No response. Surveillance, van, 2 blocks away. She's asking questions, Tony reported. Texted the relay number. Don't answer. Marco's voice came through. Let her wonder. Damien's still circling the neighborhood, Carlos added. Want us to pick him up? Not yet. Let him think he still has a chance. Tomorrow we end this. Tony watched Elena's window, saw her silhouette pacing back and forth. She's scared, he said. She won't be for long, Marco promised. Boss's orders. Damien Cross gets one more chance to back off. Then we make him disappear. Day 4, Morning Brew Cafe, Portland. Elena tied her apron strings tighter, trying to focus on the espresso machine and not on the fact that she'd barely slept. Damien had been outside her apartment until 2 a.m. She'd watched his shadow pass by her window over and over, pacing, waiting. Then suddenly he'd left. Just got in his car and drove away. She'd lain awake until dawn, waiting for him to come back. Elena, you okay? Jessica, her coworker, touched her shoulder. You've been staring at that milk steamer for like 2 minutes. Sorry. Rough night, Elena forced a smile. She'd picked up shifts at Morning Brew to supplement the bookstore income. Rent in Portland wasn't cheap, miracle refunds aside. I'm good. The morning rush was dying down when the bell above the door chimed. Elena glanced up automatically, her customer service smile ready. Then froze. Him. The man from the airport stood in the doorway, scanning the cafe with the same sharp, assessing gaze she remembered. He wore a different suit, navy blue this time, no tie, with a black overcoat that probably cost more than her car. His dark hair was perfect, his presence commanding enough that the other customers seemed to instinctively give him space. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Elena's mind raced. What is he doing here? How did he find me? Was he the one? Good morning. His voice was exactly as she remembered, low, controlled, with that undertone of authority. He walked to the counter like this was completely normal. Like they hadn't shared a desperate kiss in an airport 3 days ago. Coffee, black. Large. Elena's hands trembled as she grabbed a cup. For here or to go? Here, he was watching her face. Not in a creepy way, but like he was reading a book, looking for subtext between the lines. Jessica appeared next to Elena, practically vibrating. I'll get this one, she whispered, not very quietly. You look like you need a minute. I'm fine. But Jessica had already taken over, shooting Elena a "what is wrong with you" look. Elena stepped back, her heart hammering against her ribs. It couldn't be a coincidence. Chicago to Portland. Airport to cafe. A man like that didn't just happen to walk into a random coffee shop. Unless he did. Unless she was being paranoid. Maybe he was here on business. Maybe he lived here. Maybe. Elena, right? His voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. She jerked her head up. He was standing at the pickup counter now, his coffee in hand, those dark eyes locked on hers. I remember you from the airport. Her throat went dry. Yes.
I'm so sorry about that.
I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. He took a sip of coffee, never breaking eye contact. You needed help. I'm glad I was there. Jessica was watching them like she was witnessing the meet-cute in a rom-com. 2 other baristas had stopped working to stare. Are you? Elena lowered her voice. Are you following me? His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement? I'm in Portland for business. This cafe was recommended. Should I be worried that you work here? It was such a smooth deflection that Elena almost believed him. Almost. What kind of business? The question came out before she could stop it. The boring kind. He set down his coffee. How are you? Your ex, is he still a problem? The casual way he asked made her chest tighten, like he was asking about the weather. But there was something underneath it. Something sharp and dangerous. Why do you care? Elena whispered. Call it curiosity. He tilted his head slightly. You kissed a complete stranger and trusted him to protect you. That takes either desperation or very good instincts. I'm curious which one it was. Both, Elena admitted, before she could think better of it. His smile was slight, barely there. Good answer. Jessica appeared at Elena's elbow, coffee pot in hand, refill nobody asked for. So, How do you two know each other? Airport, you said? Brief encounter, the man said smoothly. Nothing dramatic. Elena almost laughed. Nothing dramatic. She'd kissed him, lied to security, and run away without even learning his name. I'm Luca, by the way. He extended his hand across the counter. Since we skipped introductions last time. Elena stared at his hand. Long fingers, expensive watch, a small scar across his knuckles. The hand of someone who'd done more than sign contracts. She shook it. His grip was firm, warm. Elena. I know, at her startled look, he added. You're wearing a name tag.
Right.
Of course. Well, Luca said, picking up his coffee. I should let you get back to work. Thank you for the coffee, Elena. He turned to leave, and Elena felt something twist in her chest.
Wait.
She had questions. So many questions. Like why he was really here. Like if he knew about the mysterious help she'd been receiving. Like if he was connected to the men who kept appearing whenever Damien got too close.
Luca.
He stopped, glanced back. Thank you, she said quietly, for helping me at the airport. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. Anytime. Then he was gone, the door swinging shut behind him. The entire cafe seemed to exhale. Oh my God, Jessica squealed, grabbing Elena's arm. Who was that? He was gorgeous. And rich.
Did you see that suit?
And that voice, like criminally hot voice. He's just a guy I met at the airport, Elena mumbled, but her hands were still shaking. That was not just a guy, another barista, Mike, had joined them. That was I own several companies and possibly a yacht guy. What happened at the airport? Nothing. He helped me with something. Jessica grinned. Well, nothing. Just looked at you like you're the most interesting person he's seen in years. You're imagining things. I'm really not, Jessica started, wiping down the counter. He didn't look at anyone else. Not once. Just you. Elena's phone buzzed. She pulled it out, her hands still trembling. Unknown number. He won't come back.
Damien.
He left Portland an hour ago. You're safe now. Elena stared at the message, then looked out the window, where Luca was climbing into a black town car.
No, she thought.
It can't be. But the timing was too perfect. Damien terrorizing her for days, then suddenly vanishing the same night mysterious protectors appeared. Now this man, Luca, showing up in her cafe, asking about her ex with that dangerous edge in his voice. She thought about the way he'd wrapped his arm around her at the airport. The cold authority in his glare at Damien. The way security had jumped to obey him without question. When you kissed me, what did I kiss? Not just a businessman. Not just someone powerful. Someone dangerous. Elena watched the town car pull away, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and something else she couldn't quite name. Gratitude, maybe. Or recognition. Some part of her had known at the airport, had looked at him and seen someone who could make her problems disappear. She just hadn't realized he'd actually do it. Inside the town car. She's figured it out, Marco said from the driver's seat. Saw the way she looked at you. Luca was quiet, watching the cafe disappear in the side mirror.
Yes.
Problem. No. Luca's expression was thoughtful. She's smart. That's good. Boss, with respect, this is getting complicated. You've spent nearly 60 grand, mobilized a dozen men, and personally flew to Portland just to buy coffee from a woman who doesn't even know your last name. Your point. Marco sighed.
Just.
What's the endgame here? Luca was silent for a long moment. I haven't decided yet, but as they drove away, he found himself replaying the moment she'd said his name. The way her hands had trembled. The questions in her eyes. Elena Martinez was starting to put the pieces together. Soon, she'd want answers. And Luca would have to decide how much truth she could handle. Day 5, Brooklyn, New York. Victor Constantine studied the photographs spread across his desk, a thin smile playing at his lips. Surveillance shots, grainy but clear enough. A woman, brunette, mid-20s, pretty in an unremarkable way, walking into a bookstore, getting coffee, entering a modest apartment building. And in 3 of the photos, a figure in the background, always watching, always positioned between her and potential threats. Luca dos Santos's men. You're certain? Victor asked, not looking up from the photos. His lieutenant, Alexei, nodded. I have 4 separate confirmations. Dos Santos mobilized a full protection detail. Round-the-clock surveillance. He personally flew to Portland 2 days ago. Portland, Victor chuckled. What business does Luca have in Portland?
None, sir.
Except her, Alexei tapped one of the photos. Elena Martinez, 28, waitress. No family except an aunt. No criminal connections. Nothing that would normally interest someone like Dos Santos. Victor leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled. Luca dos Santos was the most dangerous man on the East Coast, calculating, ruthless, impossible to predict. He'd built his empire by being untouchable. No weaknesses. No vulnerabilities. Until now. How did they meet? Airport in Chicago 4 days ago. She kissed him. Some situation with an ex-boyfriend. Alexei pulled up additional photos on his tablet. Since then, Dos Santos has paid off her debts, killed a lawsuit against her, put protection on her 24/7, and purchased her apartment building through a shell company. He bought an entire building? Victor's smile widened. For a waitress? Apparently, this was delicious. Victor had been looking for leverage against Luca dos Santos for 3 years. The man was a ghost. No family to threaten, no vices to exploit, no pressure points. Just cold efficiency wrapped in expensive suits. But everyone had a weakness eventually. How many people know about this? Victor asked. The photos have circulated to 5 families so far. Everyone's watching to see what Dos Santos does next. And what he'll do is protect her. Victor stood, walking to the window overlooking the East River. He's made her a target by showing interest. Every rival he has will see her as a way to hurt him. Do we move on her? Not yet, Victor turned back. But keep eyes on the situation. If Dos Santos is willing to go this far for some random woman, she means something to him. And anything that means something to Luca dos Santos is valuable. Should I increase surveillance? Carefully. Dos Santos's people are good. If they catch us watching, he'll know we're interested. Victor returned to his desk. For now, we watch and wait. Let him get more invested. More protective. Then we'll see how much he's willing to pay to keep her safe. Portland, Elena's apartment building. Elena was carrying groceries up the stairs when her landlord, Mr. Chin, called her name. Ms. Martinez. A moment, please. She set down the bags, wiping her hands on her jeans. Mr. Chun was a sweet older man who'd given her a break on the security deposit when she'd explained her situation. Is everything okay? Oh, yes. Very good news, actually, he smiled, holding a folder. The building has been sold. New ownership. They're planning some renovations. Nothing major, don't worry. But I wanted to inform all tenants. Elena's stomach dropped. Sold? When? The deal closed yesterday. Very quick transaction. The new owners are a property management company. He checked his papers. Northwest Holdings LLC. They've assured me all current leases will be honored at the same rates. So my rent won't go up. No. In fact, they're upgrading security. New locks, cameras in the hallways, better lighting. They want tenants to feel safe. Mr. Chin patted her shoulder. Good news, yes? After everything you've been through. Elena forced a smile. Yes. That's great. But her mind was spinning. Another convenient miracle. First her legal troubles disappeared, then her bank account, now this. Someone was moving pieces on a board she couldn't see. Will I meet the new owners? She asked carefully. They're very hands-off. Silent investors, you know? Everything goes through the management company. Mr. Chin handed her a business card. But here's the contact information if you need anything. They seem very professional. Elena took the card. Northwest Holdings LLC. A phone number. A generic email address. Nothing that told her anything real. Thank you, Mr. Chin. She carried her groceries upstairs, her hands shaking. Inside her apartment, she pulled out her phone and searched for Northwest Holdings LLC. Nothing. No website.
No social media.
No reviews. A shell company. Had to be. She thought about Luca in the cafe yesterday. The way he'd asked about Damien with that dangerous edge. The way his men had appeared every time she needed help. He bought my building, she realized. He actually bought my entire building. Her phone rang, making her jump. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her hit accept. Hello.
Elena Martinez.
A woman's voice, professional, cold. This is Jennifer from Northwest Holdings. We wanted to follow up on the building purchase and ensure you're satisfied with the new security measures. Yes. Thank you. We take tenant safety very seriously. If you have any concerns or notice anything unusual, please contact us immediately. We're here to help. The line went dead. Elena sat on her bed, staring at her phone. The message was clear. We're watching. We're protecting you. Don't ask questions. But she had so many questions. She pulled up a search for Luca DeSantis on her phone, her heart pounding. The first result made her blood run cold. Luca DeSantis, alleged organized crime figure, profile. She clicked it. A news article from 6 months ago. While never convicted of any crime, Luca DeSantis is believed by federal investigators to control significant illegal operations on the East Coast. Known for his intelligence and ruthlessness, DeSantis has successfully avoided prosecution through legal maneuvering and carefully maintained distance from criminal activities. Elena kept reading, her hands shaking. Mafia. The man she'd kissed was Mafia. The man who'd helped her, who'd paid her debts,
Who'd bought her building.
who'd made Damien disappear. Oh God. Another article. Another. Photos of Luca at charity galas, always in a perfect suit, always with that calm, controlled expression. Speculation. Investigations that went nowhere. Witnesses who recanted. Rival families who knew better than to cross him. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Don't believe everything you read. But yes, I'm exactly what you think I am. And you're still safe. Elena stared at the message, her entire world tilting. She'd kissed a mob boss. And he decided to protect her. The question was, why? And more importantly, what did he want in return? New York, Luca's office. She knows, Marco said, watching the tracking data on Elena's phone. She Googled you. Read 3 articles. She's freaking out. Luca was silent, standing at his window. Should I send someone to explain? No, Luca's voice was quiet. Let her process it. She's smart enough to realize she's been safe since I got involved. She'll put it together. And if she runs, she won't. Luca turned from the window. She spent 3 months running from someone who terrified her. Now she knows someone more dangerous than Damien is protecting her. She won't run from that. Boss, Victor Constantine has photos. 5 other families know about her. She's a target now. I know. This could turn into a war. Then we'll win it. Luca's expression was cold. Elena Martinez is under my protection. Anyone who touches her will learn why people don't cross me. Marco was quiet for a moment. You really care about her. I care about keeping my word, but even as Luca said it, he knew it was more than that. Something about Elena, her courage, her desperation, the way she'd trusted him, had gotten under his skin. Double the security. I want 3 teams on rotation. If anyone even looks at her wrong, I want to know about it. Already done. Luca nodded, but his jaw was tight. Victor Constantine was smart. Ruthless. If he'd noticed Elena, others had too. The protection had just become a lot more complicated. Night, day 6. Elena's shift at Morning Brew ended at 9 p.m. She'd spent the entire day in a daze, her mind cycling through everything she'd learned about Luca DeSantis. Organized crime. Federal investigations. A man powerful enough to make problems and people disappear. She should be terrified. The strange thing was she wasn't. Not of him, anyway. You okay to walk home? Jessica asked, untying her apron. You've been weird all day. I'm fine. It's only 4 blocks. Want me to call you an Uber? I'm good. Elena forced a smile. I need the fresh air. The October night was crisp, the streets of Portland glistening from an earlier rain. Elena pulled her jacket tighter and started the familiar walk home. Past the Thai restaurant on the corner. Past the vintage record store that was always closed by now. Past the alley that cut between 2 buildings. The shortcut she usually avoided at night. Tonight, the main street was blocked by construction. Orange cones forced pedestrians to detour. Through the alley, or 3 blocks around. Elena hesitated, checking her phone. 9:17 p.m. The alley was well lit, and she could see the other end from here. 30 seconds, tops.
She walked in.
She made it 15 feet before she heard the footsteps behind her. Fast, purposeful. Elena's heart jumped into her throat. She spun around. 2 men in black masks rushed toward her. Elena screamed and ran, but hands grabbed her from behind. A 3rd man, waiting in the shadows. Her scream cut off as a hand clamped over her mouth, chemical-sweet cloth pressed against her face. Chloroform. She thrashed, trying to bite, to kick, but her limbs were already going heavy. The world tilted sideways. She heard a van door sliding open somewhere close.
No.
No, not like this. Then everything exploded into chaos. Gunshots, no, not gunshots. Suppressed weapons, making muffled thwip sounds. The hand on her mouth released. Elena collapsed to her knees, gasping, her vision swimming. Men were fighting. She saw flashes, a body hitting the ground. One of her attackers being slammed against the brick wall hard enough to crack his mask. Another trying to run and getting tackled. Secure her.
Now.
A woman's voice. Familiar. Elena looked up through blurry eyes and saw the business suit woman from the bookstore days ago, no longer browsing romance novels. She was holding a gun, professional, deadly. Target secure, someone said into a radio. 3 hostiles down. Requesting immediate extraction. Elena tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. Strong hands caught her, the flannel shirt man from the bookstore, except now he was wearing tactical gear. You're okay, he said firmly.
We've got you.
Stay with us. What? Who? Elena's words slurred together. The chloroform was still in her system, making everything feel distant and strange. Medical en route. The woman reported. Boss is 2 minutes out.
Boss.
The word cut through Elena's fog. Tires squealed at the alley entrance. A black SUV stopped so fast it fishtailed, and then he was there. Luca DeSantis, emerging from the vehicle like a force of nature. His suit jacket was gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, and his expression was the most terrifying thing Elena had ever seen. Not angry, beyond angry. Cold fury that made the temperature drop. Report, he snapped. 3 assailants, attempted abduction. Professional operation. We neutralized them before they could move her. The woman kept her voice steady, but even she looked nervous. She inhaled some chloroform. Luca was already moving. He crossed the alley in 4 strides and dropped to his knees in front of Elena. His hands cupped her face, tilting it up to examine her eyes. Elena, look at me. His voice was different now, still controlled, but with an edge of something raw underneath. How much did you breathe in? I don't. Her tongue felt thick. Not much. They didn't. Your people stopped them. His jaw clenched. He looked up at his team. Who sent them? Masks had Constantine's signature markings. The flannel shirt man, Tony, reported. We're confirming now. I want confirmation in 10 minutes. Luca's voice could have cut glass. And I want Victor Constantine to know what happens when someone touches what's mine. The possessiveness in those words should have scared Elena. Instead, through the chemical haze, she felt something else. Safe. Can you stand? Luca asked her, his attention returning to her face. I think so. He helped her up, one arm around her waist, supporting her weight easily. Elena leaned into him because she had no choice. Her legs were still rubber. The van, she mumbled. They had a van. Already secured. My people disabled it 2 blocks away. Luca guided her toward his SUV. You're not going home tonight. It's not safe. Where? Somewhere they can't reach you. Elena's brain was starting to clear, fear cutting through the fog. They tried to kidnap me. Those men, they were going to use you against me, Luca said bluntly. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. Should have moved you somewhere secure the moment I knew you'd figured out who I was. This is because of you? The reality was sinking in. Someone wanted to hurt you. He helped her into the SUV, sliding in beside her. His hand found hers, gripping it firmly. Yes.
Why?
Elena's voice cracked. Why would anyone care about me?
I'm nobody.
I'm just. You're not nobody, Luca's dark eyes held hers. Not anymore. The moment you kissed me, you became someone. And my enemies know that anyone I protect is someone I value. But you don't even know me. I know enough, his thumb brushed across her knuckles. I know you're brave enough to kiss a stranger when you're terrified. I know you work 2 jobs to stay independent. I know you'd rather struggle than ask for help. I know Damien Cross spent 3 months trying to break you and failed. Elena's eyes burned. I can't be in this world. I don't know how to. You don't have to know. Luca's voice softened fractionally. That's what I'm for. You stay alive, Elena. I'll handle everything else. The SUV pulled away from the alley. Through the back window, Elena saw Luca's team loading the unconscious attackers into a separate vehicle. The woman was photographing something on one of the men's jackets. What will you do to them? Elena whispered. What I do to everyone who threatens what I protect. Luca's expression went cold again. I make sure they can never do it again. Elena should be horrified. Should demand to be taken to the police. Should run as far from Luca DeSantis as possible. Instead, she squeezed his hand and asked, Where are we going? My estate. 2 hours outside the city. Secure, isolated, defended, he studied her face. You'll be safe there until I neutralize the threat. How long will that take? His smile was sharp, dangerous. 48 hours. Maybe less. Elena closed her eyes, leaning back against the leather seat. Her life had officially spiraled into something she couldn't control. She'd been kidnapped, almost kidnapped, by men working for someone named Constantine. She was being driven to a secret estate by a mob boss. And somehow, the scariest part wasn't any of that. The scariest part was how safe she felt sitting next to Luca DeSantis. How right it felt to let him handle this. How much she was starting to trust the most dangerous man she'd ever met. Thank you, she whispered, for saving me. Luca's hand tightened on hers. Always. And despite everything, the danger, the violence, the impossible situation, Elena believed him. Night, same evening. The estate appeared through the trees like something from a movie, modern glass and stone, built into the hillside, with subtle lighting that made it glow against the darkness. Security gates. Cameras. Men in suits stationed at intervals Elena could see, and probably dozens more she couldn't. The SUV pulled up to the main entrance. Luca helped her out, his hand steady on her elbow. This is where you live. Elena's voice was small. One of several places. This is the most secure. He guided her up stone steps. You'll stay in the guest wing. Everything you need is already there. The chloroform had worn off, but Elena's legs still felt unsteady. Or maybe that was just shock. She'd nearly been kidnapped an hour ago. Now she was walking into a fortress owned by a man the FBI considered a crime lord. Inside, the estate was all clean lines and expensive simplicity. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest. Modern art that probably cost more than her entire life. A woman in a gray suit appeared immediately. Marie will show you to your room, Luca said. Get cleaned up. Change clothes. I'll have food sent up.
Luca.
We'll talk, he promised. Give me 20 minutes to handle some things. Then I'll answer every question you have. Elena wanted to argue, but exhaustion hit her like a wave. She nodded and followed Marie through hallways that seemed to go on forever, finally arriving at a bedroom suite that was bigger than her entire apartment. There are clothes in your size in the closet, Marie said, her voice kind. Bathroom is through there. If you need anything, use the phone by the bed. Press 0-inch. How did you clothes in my size? Marie's smile was gentle. Mr. DeSantis is very thorough. Dinner will arrive shortly. Then she was gone, and Elena was alone in a room that felt like a luxury hotel. She walked to the window, bulletproof glass, she noticed, and stared out at the dark forest. What am I doing here? She showered, letting hot water wash away the alley, the fear, the chemical smell of chloroform. In the closet, she found jeans in her exact size, soft sweaters, even pajamas. All brand new, tags still attached. He'd planned for this. Had clothes ready for her. How long had he been preparing to bring her here? Elena dressed in jeans and a gray sweater, her hands shaking. She was braiding her wet hair when a knock came at the door. Come in. Luca entered carrying a tray himself, no servants, no buffer. He'd changed too, now in dark jeans and a black Henley, somehow more intimidating without the suit. He set the tray on a table by the window. Chicken, rice, vegetables. Marie said you're not vegetarian. How does Marie know that? Because I had your life investigated. Luca pulled out a chair, gesturing for her to sit. Eat first. Then we'll talk. I want to talk now. His eyes met hers, assessing. Then he nodded, sitting across from her. All right. Elena's hands clenched in her lap. The legal fees. The lawsuit being dismissed. My bank account. The building you bought. The men who kept appearing whenever Damien got close. All of it. That was you. Yes. No deflection. No excuses. Just the truth. Since when? Her voice was shaking. Since the airport. Since 30 minutes after you kissed me. Luca leaned back, completely calm. I had my people find out who you were, what your situation was, what Damien Cross had done to you. And I decided to fix it.
Why?
The question burst out of her. Why would you do that?
You didn't know me.
I was just some random woman who... You weren't random, his voice was quiet, intense. You looked at a terminal full of people and chose me. Some part of you recognized what I was, someone dangerous enough to make your ex back down. You trusted your instincts, and your instincts were right. That doesn't explain. When you kissed me, Luca interrupted, his dark eyes locked on hers. When you whispered, please help me, you made yourself my responsibility. Elena stared at him. That's insane. I didn't ask for any of this. The money, the surveillance, buying my building. You asked for help. I gave it. I asked you to pretend to be my boyfriend for 2 minutes. And I decided you deserved more than 2 minutes. Luca's expression didn't change. You deserved to be free of a man who terrorized you. You deserved to have your debts paid. You deserved to feel safe. So, I made it happen. Without asking me. Without even telling me. Would you have accepted if I'd asked? His eyebrow raised slightly. Would you have let me pay your legal fees? Buy your building? Put protection on you? No, Elena admitted. But that doesn't mean you can't just decide someone is your responsibility and take over their life. I didn't take over your life. I removed the obstacles preventing you from living it. Luca's voice remained maddeningly calm. You wanted to escape Damien. I made sure he couldn't follow. You wanted to start over in Portland. I made sure you could afford to stay. You wanted to be safe. I made you untouchable. Until your enemies tried to kidnap me. Finally, emotion cracked through his control. His jaw clenched, and something dark flashed in his eyes. That's on me. I underestimated how quickly word would spread. I should have moved you somewhere secure immediately. I don't want to be moved anywhere. I want my life back. Your life was Damien showing up at your workplace. Being evicted. Working yourself to exhaustion to pay debts you shouldn't have had. Luca leaned forward. Is that really what you want back? Elena's eyes burned. I want to make my own choices. Then choose, his voice softened. I'll tell you everything. Who I am, what I've done, what happens next. And then you can decide if you want my protection or if you want me to disappear from your life entirely. She studied his face, looking for manipulation, for the control tactics she'd learned to recognize with Damien. But Luca's expression was completely open.
Honest.
Tell me, she whispered. Everything.
So he did.
He told her about his organization, carefully vague on details but clear about the scope. He told her about Victor Constantine and why the attack had happened. He told her about the surveillance teams, the shell companies, every dollar he'd spent making her problems vanish. I've dedicated significant resources to keeping you safe, he finished. My people are loyal, but they're also curious. Word got out that I was protecting someone. That made you a target. So what now? Now I neutralize the threat. Victor gets a message he can't ignore. My other rivals learn what happens when they move against me. His eyes were steel. Within 48 hours, you'll be too dangerous to touch. Not because of who you are, but because of who's protecting you. Elena felt tears spilling over. I didn't ask for this. I know for the first time, his expression genuinely softened. But you're in it now. And I don't abandon people I've claimed to protect. Especially not when they remind me, he stopped. Remind you of what? Luca was quiet for a long moment. That there are still people in this world worth saving. Worth protecting. Worth, he didn't finish, but something in his eyes made Elena's breath catch. I'm terrified of you, she whispered. I know. But I also, she didn't know how to finish that sentence. Trust you? Need you? Feel safer with you than I've felt in years. All of it was true. All of it was impossible. You don't have to decide anything tonight, Luca said, standing.
Sleep.
Tomorrow, we'll figure out the rest. He was at the door when Elena called out, Luca? He turned. Thank you, she said quietly. For saving me. For all of it. Even if I didn't ask for it. Something that might have been a smile touched his lips. Get some rest, Elena. Then he was gone, and Elena was alone in a fortress, protected by a man who terrified and fascinated her in equal measure. A man who'd decided she belonged to him the moment she'd kissed him. And the scariest part, she was starting to think he might be right. Day 7, morning. Elena woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a disorienting moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back, the attack, Luca, the estate. She found a breakfast tray outside her door with a handwritten note. Meeting room, 2nd floor.
Come when you're ready. Elle.
She dressed quickly and followed the sound of voices down a hallway. The meeting room had a massive table surrounded by screens showing what looked like surveillance feeds, financial data, and maps marked with red pins. Luca stood at the head of the table, Marco and 4 other men in suits surrounding him. They were speaking in low, clipped tones about targets and timelines. Elena, Luca noticed her immediately. Come in. The other men glanced at her with curiosity, then quickly looked away when Luca's expression hardened. Clear message. Don't stare. I don't want to interrupt. You're not, he gestured to a chair. I thought you should see this. Understand what happens when someone moves against me. Marco pulled up a series of photographs on the main screen. The 3 men who'd tried to grab her last night, now with their masks off. Bruised, terrified, sitting in what looked like a warehouse. They confirmed Victor Constantine ordered the hit, Marco reported. Payment was $200,000, split 3 ways. They were supposed to deliver you to a location in Seattle. Elena's stomach turned. What did you do to them? Made them talk. Then turned them over to people. Victor will never find them. With Luca's voice was matter of fact. They're in protective custody now. Federal witnesses. Constantine's operation in the Pacific Northwest will be dismantled within the week. You turn them over to the FBI? Strategic alliance. I give them Victor on a plate. They look the other way on my activities. Luca tapped the screen, switching to financial records. Victor's supply lines shut down as of 3 hours ago. His shipments seized. His distribution network collapsed. 3 of his captains have already approached me about switching sides. Elena stared at the data flowing across the screens. This was happening in real time. Luca was dismantling an entire criminal organization before her eyes. How? She whispered. Information and leverage. Luca zoomed in on one section. Victor runs his operation through a shipping company in Brooklyn. I own that company as of this morning. He doesn't know it yet. His warehouses? I control the building leases. His bank accounts? Frozen by federal order thanks to an anonymous tip about money laundering. You can do that?
Just
Destroy someone's entire operation in one day. When you know where the weak points are, his smile was cold. Victor made a mistake going after you. Now he pays the price. Marco pulled up another file. Damien Cross. Elena's blood ran cold. Your ex has been busy, Luca said, his voice dropping into dangerous territory. He hired a private investigator to track you down. Filed false police reports in Portland claiming you stole money from him. And he's been telling anyone who'll listen that you're unstable and need to be brought home. He won't stop, Elena said quietly. He never stops. He will now, Luca nodded to Marco, who pulled up more documents. Damien's father, Judge Cross, has connections. But I have better ones. As of this morning, Judge Cross is under investigation for judicial misconduct. Those restraining orders he helped dismiss? All being reviewed. His reputation is currently being destroyed by every news outlet in Chicago. Elena's eyes widened. You're taking down a judge. I'm holding corrupt people accountable. Luca's expression didn't change. Judge Cross abused his power to help his son terrorize women. That ends today. And Damien. He pulled up financial records. He's leveraged to his eyeballs. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards. I bought all of it. Every single debt. He owes me now. What does that mean? It means I called him an hour ago and explained his new situation. Luca's eyes were hard. He has 48 hours to leave Chicago permanently. If I ever hear he's contacted you, looked for you, or even thought about you, I will personally ensure he spends the rest of his life in a prison cell where no amount of his father's connections can reach him. Elena couldn't breathe. What did he say? He tried to argue. Threatened to go to the police. Said he'd tell them I was harassing him. Luca's smile was sharp. Then Marco sent him evidence of his own crimes. Physical abuse, stalking, intimidation. All documented. All admissible in court. Damien stopped arguing after that. Marco pulled up a final screen, flight records. He booked a one-way ticket to Miami. Leaves tomorrow morning. He's really leaving? Elena felt dizzy. Just like that. People tend to be reasonable when they realize they have no choice. Luca walked around the table to stand beside her. Damien Cross will never bother you again. If he tries, he'll discover what it's like to have someone more powerful than him, making his life hell. It was exactly what Damien had done to her. Exactly what had made her life unbearable for 3 months. And Luca had fixed it in less than 24 hours. What about me? Elena asked. You said I was a target because your enemies knew you were protecting me. That's being handled. Luca gestured to another screen showing what looked like social media posts and underground forum threads. My people are spreading a different story. That you witnessed a crime, I provided protection in exchange for testimony, and the case is now closed. You're no longer interesting to anyone. Just another civilian who helped law enforcement and moved on with her life. Will they believe that? They'll believe I'm no longer personally invested. His eyes met hers. Which means you're no longer worth the risk of touching. Marco cleared his throat. All traces of Elena Martinez in our surveillance network have been scrubbed. No photos, no mentions, nothing that would draw attention. As far as the underground is concerned, she's already forgotten. Elena tried to process it all. In 36 hours, Luca had destroyed a rival's empire, neutered her abusive ex, protected a corrupt judge from his own son, and erased her from the criminal underworld's radar. Why? She asked quietly. Why go this far? Luca dismissed his men with a gesture. They filed out, leaving Elena and Luca alone in the room full of screens and data. Because you asked for help, he said simply. And because no one threatens what's mine and walks away. I'm not yours. Aren't you? He stepped closer, but not threateningly. You're living in my estate, under my protection, safe because of decisions I made. Elena, you became mine the moment you kissed me. You just didn't know it yet. She should argue, should be angry at his presumption. Instead, she asked, what happens now? Now you decide. Luca's voice softened. You can go back to Portland, back to your life. I'll maintain distant security. You'll never see my people, never know they're there.
Or
Or
you stay
here,
with me.
and we figure out what this is. Elena's heart hammered. What is this? Luca's dark eyes held hers. I don't know yet, but I want to find out. Day 9 evening. Elena had been at the estate for 3 days. 3 days of watching Luca work from the doorway of his office. Calls in Italian, Russian, English, handling an empire with the same controlled precision he did everything else. 3 days of meals together where they talked about books, Portland, everything except the obvious tension building between them. 3 days of trying to figure out who Luca DeSantis actually was beneath the dangerous reputation. Tonight, he found her in the library, curled up in a leather chair with a book she wasn't actually reading. Walk with me, he asked. She followed him through glass doors onto a stone terrace overlooking the forest. The October air was crisp, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds. Luca handed her his jacket without asking, draping it over her shoulders. Victor Constantine's operation is finished, he said quietly. Federal raids this morning. He'll be in custody within 48 hours. And Damien landed in Miami yesterday. My people confirmed he's looking for work, keeping his head down. So, it's over. The immediate threat, yes, Luca turned to face her. You're safe now, Elena. Really safe. No one will come after you. No one will use you against me. You can go back to your life. There it was. The ouch she'd been waiting for. What if I don't want to go back? The words escaped before she could stop them. His expression shifted, surprise, then something warmer. Then what do you want? Elena pulled his jacket tighter around herself. It smelled like him, expensive cologne and something else, something that made her feel safe. I want to understand this.
Us.
What's happening here? I don't know what this is, Luca admitted, leaning against the terrace railing. I've never done this before. Protected someone? Cared whether they stayed or left. His dark eyes found hers. I've spent 15 years building walls, Elena. Making sure nothing, and no one could get close enough to be used against me. Then you grabbed my jacket in an airport, and everything I'd carefully constructed started cracking. Her breath caught.
Luca.
I'm not asking you to be mine, he interrupted. I'm not trying to control you the way Damien did. I'm not going to make decisions for you, or tell you how to live your life. He stepped closer. But I am asking if you want to figure this out together. Whatever this is. You've already made so many decisions for me. The money, the protection. I won't apologize for keeping you safe. But going forward... His voice softened. Your choices are your own. You want to go back to Portland, work at the cafe, live in that studio apartment. I'll make sure you can do that without interference. You want to stay here, I'll give you space, time, whatever you need. You want something else entirely, tell me and I'll make it happen. Elena studied his face in the moonlight. This close, she could see the scar above his eyebrow, the tiredness around his eyes from 3 days of dismantling criminal organizations. He looked dangerous and exhausted and unexpectedly vulnerable. Why me? She whispered. You could have anyone. Models, socialites, women who understand your world. Because you didn't care about my world. You saw me as someone who could help you, not someone you could use. Luca's hand came up, fingers gently touching her cheek. Do you know how rare that is? How many people look at me and see only what I can give them? I kissed you without permission. You kissed me out of desperation and trust. Trust one hadn't earned yet but wanted to. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. Elena, I've spent my entire life being feared. You're the first person in 15 years who looked at me and saw safety instead. Her eyes burned. You're safe.
For me.
That's the strangest part. The most dangerous man I've ever met is the only person who makes me feel completely protected. Then stay, it wasn't a command.
It was a request.
Not as someone I'm protecting. As someone I want to know. To understand. He stopped, seeming to struggle with words he'd never said before. To what? To see if this feeling I have, this need to make sure you're okay, to hear you laugh, to know what you're thinking, if it's something more than just obligation. His voice was raw, honest in a way she suspected he rarely was. I don't know how to do this, Selena. I don't do relationships. Don't do vulnerability. But with you, I want to try. Elena's hand came up to cover his, still resting against her cheek. I'm terrified. Of me. Of how much I trust you. How safe I feel. How right this feels when it should feel completely wrong. She took a shaky breath. I spent 3 months escaping one man's control. I can't walk into another cage, Luca. Even a gilded 1-inch. I'm not offering you a cage. His other hand found her waist, steady and warm. I'm offering you partnership. Protection without possession. Safety without strings. You live your life, make your choices, and he paused. I get to be part of it. If you want me to be. What does that look like? I don't know, he admitted. We figure it out as we go. You want to work, you work. Want your own place? I'll help you find one. Want space, you get space. Want me, his voice dropped. Then you get me. All of me. The good, the bad, the dangerous. But only if that's what you choose. Elena's heart was racing. This was insane. She'd known him for 9 days. He was a mob boss. She was a waitress from Portland who'd only kissed him because she was desperate. But standing here, wrapped in his jacket, his hand on her face, and his eyes full of something that looked terrifyingly like hope, she couldn't remember why any of that mattered. I don't know how to be in your world, she said softly. You don't have to be. I have enough people in my world.
I want someone from outside it.
Someone real. Someone who sees me, not my reputation. I do see you. She stepped closer, eliminating the last inches between them. I see someone who spent a fortune to help a stranger. Who dismantled an empire to keep me safe. Who gives me choices even when controlling me would be easier. I see you, Luca. His forehead touched hers, both of them breathing the same air.
Stay.
Not forever. Not with promises neither of us can keep yet.
Just stay.
See what happens. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of him, the solidness, the safety she'd been chasing for 3 months. Or maybe her whole life. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. She felt him smile against her temple. Yeah, she pulled back to look at him. But I need my own space. And my own work. And anything, he promised. Whatever you need. And you have to talk to me.
Tell me things.
Not just protect me from a distance. I can do that. And if this doesn't work, if I want to leave, then I let you go. His hands framed her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. No cage, Elena. Ever. I mean it. She believed him. Somehow, against all logic and reason, she believed him completely. One more thing, she said, a smile tugging at her lips. What? You have to teach me to stop being afraid of Damien's ghost. To stop looking over my shoulder. To really be free. Luca's smile was warm, genuine. That, I can definitely do. Then, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he kissed her. Not desperate like the airport. Not rushed or forced or needed. Just soft and careful and full of possibility. End of section 11, 1,000 words. Day 10, the St. Regis Hotel, Manhattan. Elena stood in front of the full-length mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress was midnight blue, elegant and simple, flowing to the floor. Marie had styled her hair in soft waves, applied minimal makeup that somehow made her look polished and confident. She looked like she belonged at a high-society charity gala. She felt like she was about to jump out of her skin. You don't have to do this, Lucas said from the doorway. He wore a black tuxedo that probably cost more than her car, looking every inch the powerful man he was. I can go alone. Make a donation. Come back. You said this was important. that people needed to see. Elena turned to face him. What exactly do they need to see? That you're with me.
By choice.
That you're not a victim I'm protecting or a weakness they can exploit. He crossed the room, his eyes intense. This is me telling both worlds, the legitimate one and mine, that you're off limits.
Permanently.
By showing up at a charity gala. By showing up at a charity gala with me, where photographers will take pictures, reporters will ask questions, and everyone who matters will see that Elena Martinez stands beside Luca DeSantis. His hand found hers. This is your choice, Elena. Say the word, and we stay home. Elena thought about the terrified woman in the airport 9 days ago. The one who'd been running, hiding, looking over her shoulder. The one who'd kissed a stranger because she had no other options. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone who'd learned that safety didn't mean hiding. That strength could look like trust. That the most dangerous man in the room could also be the one who gave her choices instead of taking them away. Let's go make a statement, she said. Luca's smile was fierce and proud. That's my girl. The St. Regis ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite, old money, new money, politicians, and the carefully respectable faces of people who did business in shadows. Elena recognized a senator, 2 tech billionaires, and a woman she'd seen on the cover of Vogue. Then Luca's hand settled on the small of her back, and suddenly none of them mattered. They walked in together, and Elena felt the room's attention shift like a physical thing. Conversations paused. Heads turned. The camera flashes erupted. Mr. DeSantis. A reporter pushed forward. Microphone extended. We haven't seen you at a public event in 3 years. What brings you out tonight? The cause, Luca said smoothly. The charity was for children's hospitals, legitimate, generous, the kind of thing that looked good in papers. And good company. The reporter's eyes slid to Elena, hungry for a story. And who is your companion this evening? Elena's heart hammered, but Luca's hand on her back was steady, grounding. Elena Martinez, Luca said, his voice carrying that quiet authority that made people listen. My girlfriend. More flashes. More reporters crowding closer. How did you meet? Is this serious? Elena, what do you do? Luca's expression cooled several degrees. That's enough questions. We're here to support children's health care, not provide gossip. But the damage or the message was already done. Every camera in the room had captured them together. By tomorrow, the photos would be everywhere. They moved through the gala, Luca introducing her to people whose names she'd only heard on the news. A real estate mogul. A shipping magnate. A woman who owned half the galleries in Soho. Everyone was polite, carefully so, asking Elena surface-level questions while their eyes assessed her, trying to figure out what she was to Luca DeSantis. Then Victor Ramirez approached, another man in an expensive suit, but Elena recognized the edge underneath. Someone from Luca's actual world. DeSantis, his smile didn't reach his eyes. Didn't expect to see you here. With a date, no less. Ramirez, Luca's voice dropped into dangerous territory. Elena, this is Victor Ramirez. Victor, Elena Martinez. Charming, Ramirez said, but his eyes were calculating. I hope you know what you're getting into, sweetheart. Luca isn't exactly. Careful, Luca interrupted, his tone ice. Choose your next words very carefully. The threat hung in the air between them. Elena felt the tension, saw other people subtly backing away, giving them space. Just friendly advice, Ramirez said, raising his hands. No offense meant. Then let me give you some advice. Luca stepped forward, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper that somehow Elena could still hear. Anyone who touches her, touches me. Anyone who threatens her, insults her, or even looks at her wrong will discover exactly what happens when they make that mistake. Spread the word, Victor. In every circle you operate in. Elena Martinez is mine, and I protect what's mine. Ramirez's face paled. He nodded once, sharp, and walked away quickly. Elena let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. That was necessary, Luca finished. He'll tell everyone. By tomorrow, you'll be the most protected person in 3 states. No one will risk touching you. She should feel like property, like something claimed and possessed. Instead, she felt free. Because Luca had just painted a target on anyone who threatened her, not on her. Had made himself the shield, not the cage. Dance with me, he said, guiding her to the floor. They moved together, Elena's hand in his arm around her waist. The music swirled around them, and for a moment, it was just them. Not the mob boss and the waitress. Just Luca and Elena, figuring out something neither of them had expected. Are you okay? He asked quietly. Yeah, Elena looked up at him, seeing the concern in his dark eyes. I'm better than okay. For the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid. Good, his hand tightened on her waist. You'll never have to be afraid again. Around them, Manhattan's elite and underworld watched, taking note, spreading word. The woman beside Luca DeSantis wasn't a weakness. She was a line no one would dare cross. And Elena, who 9 days ago had been a terrified woman in an airport terminal, stood beside the most dangerous man in New York, not as a victim, not as a pawn, but as an equal. As someone who'd unknowingly changed the course of both their lives with one desperate kiss. She'd kissed a stranger to escape her toxic ex. Now she stood beside him, finally free.